Hi, I'm Alan and this is Prayers to the Dice Gods, and today we're going to be upscaling this paint job to this. So the very first thing we need to do here is plan this out. How do we want these black panels to appear? Because they're quarters, how do we want that to appear on this tank? Now I was looking at it and I thought maybe we'll start looking at it from above and segment it the same way that the model's done. And then I thought, actually, no, that's not the way to do this, because what you want is for the top of the intercessor to look the same as the front of the tank. So I've actually done it based on the top two segments. So in actual fact, if you flip the tank upside down, you will find that they're exactly the same on each. That's purely from a gaming point of view, because when you're getting down to see things like your line of sight, you want them to kind of meld together so that they look like they're a cohesive army. Now looking at the front of the tank, you'll also notice that the two parts that hold the las cannons I've actually left cream. Now what I was trying to do here is copy the shoulder pads of the intercessor. So the top bit we're using as the outline, so that's going to be the cream, and then the weapon is actually going to be black, just to give it that extra bit of cohesiveness. So over a grey undercoat we've just put down our cream colour of choice. On this occasion, like before, is a skeleton bone from the army painter. I've put that through the airbrush, and that's simply just for time, because trying to film the content you need to be a bit quicker than usual. So I've done this with the airbrush. I've not bothered to film that for you because I think a lot of you will do that just with a brush. Just make sure that you thin that paint down, otherwise you'll end up with very visible brush strokes. So we do the scariest thing first. We try and figure out how we're going to get these nice straight lines onto big flat panels and make sure that they go where we want them to. Well, first off, I'm going to do some light marks with just a wet paintbrush to see whether or not I am able to freehand this down the centre of the tank and see how that goes. I'm freehanding the black to start with. Of course, that doesn't go to plan because, let's face it, freehanding a straight line is not the easiest task in the world. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can deal with that. We can use some sort of straight edge like a ruler that can help us do those lines. We can use a piece of paper or a bit of plasticard. On this occasion I've opted for a little bit of modelling masking tape. It's quite good. I did realise that I'd gone off by a little bit more than I thought I had with these lines. It allowed me then to even them back up. Just go around the tank and make sure that they're straight. So we get started with the Corvus black. We're going to do the segments that we want here in that black, but because we're doing such large panels, I noticed that I could see the brush strokes as I was putting it on. So I've thinned it down a little bit more than usual. So it's going to take 5 to 6 coats just to get that nice and solid the way we want it to, so that it looks like a proper solid black base. Be sure to click on the like button before our new Predator tank finds it and destroys it. Grabbing the Leadbelcher out next, we're going to go around all of the parts of the model that we want to be silver. That is things like the tracks, the wheels, chunks of the weapons, as well as the magazine on the back of the turret. When it comes to painting tanks, particularly in this style where we're going primarily for edge highlighting, this is my favourite part. Because as soon as you start highlighting along those edges, the tank really starts to take a three-dimensional look to it, which I think looks absolutely amazing. Of course, there are better ways to paint a tank, but when you're starting out, this is one of the best ways. It adds so much character to the tank before you've had to do anything else. Of course, we can't use the same colours to highlight the black and the cream, so we're going to go around with our Mechanicus standard grey and then our Celestra grey to do the two lots of highlights that we want to do along those edges for the black sides. Just with some Seriphim Sepia, we're going to go around and we're going to do some panel lining just on the cream side, just to give it that extra bit of depth, which doing on the black side is quite difficult. And then we're going to swap over to the cream side and we're going to use our mummy robes, and then we're going to use white to do the two highlights on that side. And now the tank already looks pretty cool. I really love the way these turn out when you're doing a bit of edge highlighting on them. There's such big panels, and just having that bead of a lighter paint along the edges just really makes it pop. So next up we're going to do those lenses around the model. You'll find these above the guns, there's one on top of the tank, there's more on top of the main turret as well as on the front part of it. Just remember that these are lenses and they aren't just another piece of armour. So we're going to run around, we're going to fill all those in reds. While we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to slap the yellow onto those lights at the front. Now we're not going to worry about being too neat with that silver there, because we can always go back over. We just want to make sure that that light bulb is filled in yellow. Now the red paint's dry, we're going to pick out a slightly lighter red and a couple of oranges and a yellow to make sure that this looks like it's got a reflection on. So we're going to just pick that top right hand corner to be taking the first lot of light. We're going to fill that in progressively smaller amounts with those colours until we hit the yellow. Once the yellow's done, we're actually going to switch up to white. We're going to put a little bit of a spot in the top right hand corner. We're then going to hit it in the bottom left hand corner with another spot, just to give it that illusion of actually having a shiny bit of glass there. So now we hit the biggest problem with this paint job. I was already in love with this paint scheme. I was already thinking I was going to end up with a third Space Marine army, and now that this is done, I know I'm going to end up with a third Space Marine army because I absolutely love this paint scheme. I love everything about it. I mean, even just with these edge highlights on at the moment, this tank looks absolutely fantastic. I just can't deny it. So it looks like I'm going to end up with a fully Primaris army, fully old school Space Marine army, and then these guys I think are going to have to be a mixed Primaris and standard Space Marine army. And I'm going to love every minute of painting it. And if you'd like to see more of them, I usually put most of my updates on my Instagram. You can find me over there. Look for the photos I put up as I'm going along. If you'd like to see a video on me taking this paint job to the next level, like we did with the Intercessor, leave a comment down below and I will get to that fairly quickly.